Just Facebook. This is a not so critical update. In our now long-running series of disastrous articles about Facebook, including one last week where we gave some kudos to them for doing something maybe kind of half right, we're going to retract that. So this week, three different stories came to our attention, pretty in rapid succession since we recorded last time. We're recording here on Wednesday for the next week. Facebook planned to target 6-year-olds to compensate for teen departures. Facebook stole the name Meta without securing their IP. And in a turnaround or misdirection, when Facebook said they were going to stop using facial recognition, Meta jumps in to say, we're still going to do it. Which one of these do we... which one of these are we most angry about, guys?
It's tough. I think the stealing the name thing was more interesting than anything else, and I think it's probably a company taking advantage of, they're like trying to get some money out of them, because so I shared this with someone else, and they pointed out that this company doesn't really have much to it other than the name. So if you look on the Wayback Archive, or you try and look up this Meta company, there's not really much out there about them. It doesn't mean that Facebook have a right to the name, but the most interesting thing about it was that they started the whole process 3 months ago, which kind of gives you an indication of their timeline.
In the press release, it says they were contacted by Facebook for the first time 3 months ago, asking them for to buy the domain.
Yeah. So the facial recognition thing, oh my God, I mean, it's almost too predictable, isn't it? It's almost just like, well, of course they're going to screw us somehow. I mean, it just, if we had stopped for a second and thought, all right, hang on, how is this going to go wrong? Yeah, okay, that would have been in the top three.
Well, John wasn't here last week for it, but the story was that Facebook announced they were going to stop using facial recognition and delete their entire database. And we kind of, gave them some credit to say, it's the right thing, good. The statement said, well, it didn't really work anyway, so maybe easy enough for them to give it up. Was it 3 days later, this story comes out that Meta's right on board with facial recognition, they're going to pick up the ball?
Yeah, I think the wording is what they call it, weasel worded, because they never actually claimed that Meta wouldn't use Facebook. They always said it was going to be Facebook that would stop using it. So,
and they're already starting right now. They're already starting to use it. Hasn't even been a month since the Meta announcement, and they're already starting to use these gross tactics of, well, we said, that wasn't the whole of Meta. It was only Facebook that's going to stop. It's what are you, Mark? What are you doing? We know you run a piece of shit company. Everyone knows this. You are not good for the world, and you keep trying to pretend that you are. You keep trying to. It's like the bully that keeps saying they're not a bully. You know what I mean? It's insane. It's just absurd how they could keep doing.
Is it true that they're not trying to pretend that they're a good company? If they get caught, they kind of begrudgingly say, we'll kind of stop doing that. Doesn't seem like they put a lot of effort into even pretending.
No. Yeah, exactly. It's so, Senator, we sell ads.
I told you the story about the company I used to work for that sold those ringtones for your mobile phone. And they would, I don't know if you have the same sort of thing in America, but if you go to the back of those free newspapers, there's these shitty little ads, and it's a premium rate number, and it used to be that you could text the number and then
and they'd send you a file.
They send you a file, like a background or a ringtone or something. And they were this kind of scummy company who they would skirt the regulations. And if you texted it, you were actually signing up for a subscription service. So you would get charged the $5 or whatever, and then next month you would keep getting charged, and people just didn't realize. So they made millions and millions through that. And they kept on getting in trouble with the regulations because the phone companies were like, "Hey, that sucks. You can't do that." And then they would do a thing where you'd have to text back to say, "Yes, I confirm that I sign in." And then they were like, "Yeah, but that's predatory and it's not clear enough." And then and each time the regulation would get upped a little bit more. And Facebook are like this, but for the whole world, and just evil on a bigger scale. I remember I asked someone in that company once, it was an HR person. I was like, "Hey, do you ever feel like you're not doing like what this is a bad place to work?" And she was like, "Nope, we work within the regulations and it's fine. Everything we're doing is perfectly fine. And if we get any complaints about the regulations, then we all work to it." It's so I think it just it like broke her brain that someone suggested the what they were doing is wrong.
Zucker droids.
Sorry.
They're all a bunch of Zucker droids. I was headhunted a couple of years ago by Facebook, and like I started the conversation and through an email, like being civil, but then when he said to me, "What makes you want to work at Facebook?" I don't want to work at Facebook.
The money.
And I just totally ghosted. Not even. You can't even pay me. Can't even pay me to go to Facebook. And I ghosted him. I didn't reply. I was like, I will never join you, Mark. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's no amount of evidence to prove to me that you ever change or will change your ways. You're a total piece of shit. Calling out Mark Zuckerberg personally and the companies he built and stole and bought. Like, no thanks.
So just to go back to Mike's original question about which one of these makes me most angry, I think it's the one that you just had up there, Mike,
I just
about targeting 6-year-olds.
Yeah,
because and the reason is so just deliciously evil. Like, okay. The teens are dropping off.
The teens are dropping. Might as well go for the fucking.
We go for now.
Yeah.
Like,
get them early.
What would happen if the 6-year-old market dried up? Like, they go for like unborn babies or something.
6-year-olds aren't even allowed on the platform.
Wards. You get Facebook ads and Facebook maternity wards and Facebook nappies.
No, there's just no limit. There's no limit.
And this is on the tails of they talk about COPA and everything. The last statement, last sentence of the article says, "Can social media experience aimed at children in early stages of development really benefit their well-being?" No, it can't. But so this is, from a timing standpoint, I don't know if this goes in the same category of the facial recognition stuff where they say they're not, but then they say they are, because similar to this, they had pulled back their Instagram for Kids initiative. But I don't know if that happened before this or after this. This actually comes out of the recent leaks from Hegel about just her treasure trove of information that came out a couple weeks ago. But they do really break down that they've got a couple different kids audiences. I think they said six to 11, and then 12 to 16 or something. Oh yeah, here. So 6 through 9, and then 10 through 12 of specific audiences they're targeting. Good audience segmentation from a marketing standpoint. And I guess if you're the largest tech company in the world, then if you have complete market saturation for your users, you've got to find new users someplace.
No. I know you're being sarcastic, but like.
Well, I mean, it's true technically if you're a business and you where else are you going to get new users from? But it's.
I guess right. That's a totally untapped demographic. I wonder why.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're going to be doing meta, pacifiers.
Massifiers,
yeah. There's one other story that you didn't bring up, which was the trademark that they filed for Meta, the application, and it is bonkers. I mean, it is batshit crazy. Did you see that?
No.
It's pages and pages of just different things that they want the trademark to cover. So so we've got downloadable software in the nature of the mobile application, computer hardware, downloadable software for social networking and creating and interacting with online communities, creating, managing, and accessing groups in virtual communities. I honestly, it's not worth me going. Mike, if you could bring it up, it's just one of the screenshots is.
I don't know. I can bring it over here.
I'm not a lawyer, but it was so. Yeah, here we go. That's yeah.
Pages,
there you go. That's one page.
Pages and pages.
Whoa.
And these are all the different things that the trademark
pages.
is meant to be covering. They want the word meta. And it's so funny because they don't have the domain name meta.net,
Right.
meta.org, meta.co.uk, meta.biz, meta.company, meta.xyz. There's like, they have meta.com and that is it.
I'm surprised they got meta.com.
Yeah.
And when we talked about the outage a couple weeks ago, John, you said that you didn't see it as beyond them to take down the network as a distraction. I'm not sure about that, but the name change to Meta is 100% a distraction.
Yeah. Yes.
But this is something that this is a tried and true method of kind of washing your hands. But we live in the 21st century. We do not live in the 20th century anymore. Things are not as easily forgotten since the age of the internet. We remember.
Yeah, you're right. But I mean, some companies did get away with it, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Many companies did. Even since the .com era, companies have gotten away with doing this. Rebranding it does work.
Sadly.
In Facebook's case, it is not going to work. You can't. The dream. My dream. This is a fever dream of mine. Is for Facebook, WhatsApp, Oculus, and Instagram to completely separate and become independent, because it's the whole antitrust thing that Microsoft went through. This is exactly what should happen to Facebook,
and
Meta, whatever.
It seemed like
I'm not going to stop calling it.
Because Google kind of went through this with Alphabet, and I thought initially that that's what was happening with Meta, is that they were kind of creating this parent company that, yes, it owned all these different properties, but they all kind of operated independently. Right. The deeper we get into this, the more it all just seems like nothing but PR to try and salvage whatever shit reputation they had. But
yeah, there's so many things that people have talked about this, but including the fact that the metaverse is not a good place. If you've read the book by Neil Stephenson, Snow Crash, where it talks about the metaverse, it's not something you want to happen, really. But they've got this kind of glorified idea of it. But I was talking to a friend of mine about this, who's a journalist, and she's really into this whole thing. And she described Facebook as a comic villain, and I think that's so perfect. They're just bad at being evil. They're just kind of clutching it all over the place. They've just got.
They are the what are they called? There's a company in Ready Player One that is like trying to take over the metaverse, because that is truly at its finest. It is exactly what it is: a place where you can meet digitally and virtually to do things, work, play, do anything you want. In Oasis is what the platform is called. Facebook is the company that's trying to take over Oasis. IOI or something like that. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I read the books. But my point is that Facebook is a comic villain. Your friend is 100% correct. Mark is just stepping over himself as he's like readjusting his fake skin, yeah, just terrible.
They need to just, there's no salvaging it at this point. Just stop fucking up our politics. Stop targeting children. Stop ruining self-esteem of women and children on Instagram.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Stop doing facial recognition. We did the story
Please.
about the accelerometer tracking that could find your geolocation based on not your
I told
specific
you guys
location,
about
but
this.
the people
I
around
told
you.
you.
It's
We
nuts.
talked about this in a few episodes ago, and then I saw that you talked about it again.
Yeah.
Tied to this, like it just does not end. The
All right.
pile of
was a
shit
disaster.
doesn't end.
The first thing I said was I'm not sure I can stomach much more of this Facebook news. So let's end it there, guys.
Well,
because
Yeah.
we'll have another
Move on.
story next week, so don't worry. We'll catch up again. But yeah.